Oh, I'm not here with these fellas. I got a pig in competition at the livestock pavilion, and I'm going to win that blue ribbon.
Is that Charlotte's Web?
Yes.
Hello and welcome, everybody. This is episode Once for you English folks. This is episode 11 of From the Middle, which is a podcast.
Yes, it is.
Hosted by three fellas who are middle-class guys living in the middle of America in the middle chapters of their lives. I'm using the weird pronouns because I'm reading from a thing.
What's happening?
We are middle-class guys. Just hold on. I'm going to get it. Hello and welcome. This is episode 11 of From the Middle, which is our little podcast of three relatively large to medium-large fellas.
I don't understand. If you're listening, I want you to know that we have called emergency medical services. We will get Kendall's aneurysm taken care of.
Middle-class guys. Living in the middle of America. We are in the middle chapters of our lives. We have points of view that are somewhere in the middle.
Oh,
My name is Kendall Alala.
I'm Kory. Hubble.
Oh, have mercy on us. I am Dillon Hubble.
We're in a silly goose mood this evening, so I hope you're in for a
squawk.
I hope you're cool with that, because that's what's happening. Oh, funny. That was really good. I think people are probably sick even after only 10 episodes of the whole regular intro. So it's probably good that you had a little fun with it there.
I botched it.
Nah.
And then just went with the botching.
We're going with it. We're not trying to be polished.
Speaking of botching things, Kory.
Yeah?
Start us off, pal.
I have botulism.
That's not where I was going. But you should get that bleached.
So much wheezing. So much wheezing. I wonder what this sounds like on people's like really good speakers, like all the wheezing.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking maybe it's a good time for us to start fact checking.
Oh yeah, thank you.
But
We were giving you an excuse to sing, dude.
Oh, got it.
a one,
Yes.
a two, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
Fact check from the middle. Fact check. Do. We have some fact checks from episodes 9 and 10. So we talked a little bit about Joseph Campbell, and I attributed the concept of 37 plots to him. It is not. Wycliffe Abner Hill wrote 10 million photoplay plots. It's titled 10 million, but that's where he came up with the concept of 37 plots. Joseph Campbell wrote Hero with 1,000 Faces in 1955, which is still what George Lucas based Star Wars off of. So many people have tried to take like sort of storytelling and boil it down to some core character arcs and whatnot. There's also a guy named Frederick Palmer's. This is like really deep cut, like knowledge for y'alls. Encyclopedia of Photoplay Plots, he came up with 36. And then most recently, like within the last handful of years, this guy named Matthew Jockers used computer analysis of over 40,000 novels to conclude that all novels follow one of 6 possible stories.
I mean,
It's a bold
are
claim.
these guys just ultimate killjoys? I don't know. Do we need to know this?
I think I see people enjoying things.
Just let people like things.
Yeah. It sounds like the person that comments under every Facebook Marvel or DC post, it's just the same movie again. Yeah, there's 6.
Man.
Gene, there's 6 of them.
There's 6.
Yeah.
We're going to just enjoy it.
It's like I used to be like big into House, and I love my wife so much. But like I can't watch reruns or anything of House with her because she is a medical professional and she likes to point out the inaccuracies.
Hugh Laurie, right? That was Hugh Laurie.
That was the Hugh Laurie situation. Yeah.
Yeah. I could not remember the baseball movie that the phrase "clear the mechanism" came from.
Right.
Did you guys happen to remember what it was?
The
I know
Natural?
you're big baseball movie buffs.
The Natural?
It's not The Natural. It's For Love of the Game.
I never saw that one.
But the idea of like it would happen in the movie where he would have tunnel vision on the catcher and it was everything else would fade away and it was just about clearing the mechanism, which we applied to our creative process. Okay, last one.
You looked it up for the love of the quote, so.
Yep, sure did. And a room where you develop film is called a dark room, not a green room. I said green room.
You did, and I trusted you because I thought dark room, but you said green room. So well, maybe there's two.
Well, the
kinds of
lights are
rooms.
always red in there.
But I shouldn't have trusted you.
There's really only 6 types of rooms. So
But the photographer didn't call me on it. He was being very nice, Jeremy Kester. So it's called a dark room. There are red lights in there, not green lights. A green room is an offstage lounge or room for performers to use before and after their performances.
Right,
yeah.
So that's a green room. It has nothing to do with photography.
Right.
So anyway, those are some fun little fact checks.
We appreciate your ministry.
From 9 to 10. What's up, guys? Let's do a little round robin
Yum.
update on what's been going on.
I got nothing to say to you people.
Nothing?
No.
Nothing has happened since we last...
No, that's not true. I just wanted to try that line. So, yeah, things good. New job's good. Daughter's adorable. Wife's awesome. How annoyed do you get by the things that you're forced to care about as an adult? Do you just embrace it, learn to embrace it, or do you just stay annoyed? For example, there's new plants out front of our house now.
What do you mean?
New plants.
They just showed up, or you...
No, they were planted there in flower beds.
You
new
did
plants.
it?
No. But there's new plants there. How much am I supposed to care about watering them? Like, that's a new thing I have to think about now. So, like, with those type of things, or when are we going to need more toilet paper? We've got bulk toilet paper in the basement. We're going to have to go buy more in bulk like adults.
Right.
I need to go down and check and see how close we are. We definitely cannot run out of that. Do you embrace those kind of things that you're forced to think about as an adult in life? Like, do you go, you know what? I just need to get excited about this.
I don't think anybody's excited
Because
about
that's
it.
what I'm asking. So I'm the robot. So to me, it's just like a,
Is this the kind of thing that excites you guys? I'm trying to find something.
yeah.
Am I supposed to be feeling emotions?
Yeah. So I just don't know how much of that you embrace. Like, I got to think about plants now. That was not a thing that I ever thought about previously in life.
I've never thought about thinking about.
Yeah, that's exactly where my mind is. I'm like, I've never thought about thinking about it.
Yeah.
I just do it because that's what you got it. But
now who's the robot? Okay.
but
I'm putting thought into my life.
okay, so
So what I'm asking is, with those types of things,
Yeah.
do you try to learn to joyfully embrace them as new parts of being an adult when those type of things happen? Or do you still just sit back and go, I don't want to have to care about that?
That one.
That one?
is it either or? Why
I
does
don't
it
know.
have to be either or?
It's not. Make up your own options. That's all I can think of.
It's on or off, man.
It's not.
No, I don't
I
get
literally
excited.
just couldn't think of any other option.
I'm not excited about it, but I'm also not angry about it.
I didn't list angry as an
why do I-
option. I'm just asking.
Like, apparently you're supposed to put oil in your mowers.
Okay.
I just learned this.
Yeah.
We got back from Honduras. The
Okay.
yard is really long. I need to mow the yard. I don't like an unkempt yard. So I start mowing. The mower seizes up, which means the blade won't turn. You can't pull the cord. It's dead. So I should care about that. I'm not excited about, it's time to check all my vehicles and engines and leaf blowers and things, but it's just stuff that you just got to do now to avoid the pain. It's more like pain avoidance.
There you go. That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Then it's preventative maintenance and pain avoidance so that you don't have the stress, a lot more stress than having to worry about it.
Yes.
I try to reach out and be relatable.
No,
And-
and it's led to a
No, I'm just
phenomenal
kidding.
discussion.
Yeah. this is-
about lawnmowers and oil.
Yeah. And toilet paper.
Mm-hmm. I had a very similar situation with the snowblower.
Yeah.
That I tried to put some fuel stabilizer in it
Uh-huh.
for over the summer,
Uh-huh.
and that did not work. and the carburetor got chewed up from the inside.
And how did that make you feel?
Annoyed.
Okay. That's what I'm saying.
And if I would have just drained it at the end of the season like I should have, then I would have had it working for the first big snowfall that we had that winter. Instead, I ended up shoveling and then calling around and finding a place to take my snowblower and replacing its carburetor and
fix your roof before it rains.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. So with great power, i.e. a house, comes great responsibility.
Thanks, Uncle Ben.
You're welcome.
It's Kory.
I don't love it. I don't love any of those.
Yeah, so that's my question. The mild annoyance is normal.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This is
okay.
Learning. I'm learning how to be an adult.
Congratulations.
Someday I might be one. Probably not.
So I have a neighbor etiquette question since we're on the mower. So because my mower seized up, it's a push mower. We have about, I don't know, like half an acre lot, and I push mow it. And people go, why do you push mow a half acre? Well, because I sit at a desk all day. And so it's kind of nice to have something physical where I have to get off my butt and go do something. So I have to ask my neighbor for his riding mower, but we have a completely fenced in backyard, and I don't know that his riding mower will get through my gate. So I have to run the length of my fence in between our 2 yards to go back and see, will his riding mower fit into my backyard? Well, since I'm riding down the length of his yard anyway, I'm like, well, I might as well just turn the blades on the deck and just mow a couple strips for him since I'm going down and back anyway. But I wasn't going to mow his whole yard.
Yeah, that feels like an all or nothing situation.
Is it? Should I have done nothing? Would that have been the better?
Well,
I went down and back twice, so now he's got 4 strips.
Yeah,
that are mowed, and the rest is clearly needing mowed.
Yeah, that's weird.
My default answer would be that's all or nothing. If the person is a little OCD, you need to just mow
it's definitely nothing. Well, if they're OCD, it's
all or
nothing.
nothing. But I mean, certainly not a portion of it.
Normally, I would have just mowed the whole thing because he's letting me borrow his mower. However, we had company coming over, so I had a very limited time in which to mow.
Yeah, there's context.
So it was like, so the company that was coming over, they came over for s'mores. It's beautiful evenings lately. It's like 70s during the day and 50s at night. It's awesome right now. And he was out on his back deck, and he's like, hey, what's with the 4 strips? I was like, well, I was going down and back anyway. He's like, oh, I thought you just did that. Just did 4 strips.
Yeah, you mowed 17% of my yard.
So some of you are out there like, if it's like somebody that took a dry erase board with writing on it and erased all but just a couple ends of a couple of the letters just to be a jerk.
So that would annoy me.
Okay.
Well, no. So actually, no. The dry erase board thing would annoy me. The lawn thing wouldn't annoy me. We actually have the neighbors live right they live right next door to us.
Oh, that makes sense.
You can have neighbors that aren't right next to you.
That's where we keep them. Yeah. They recently, this year is the first year that they hired people to mow their lawn.
Okay.
And the people who are mowing their lawn this year, like the short side of our yard on the short side of our driveway or whatever, it's like the lawn mowing people have like taken like an extra 6, 7, 8, 9 feet of our yard mowing that. And, but they don't go all the way into the backyard. They stop at the fence that we have at our backyard. And I just think to myself, because I push mow also, I just think to myself, sweet, I'm not mowing that part anymore.
1 or 2 less strips.
Yeah. Like
right?
I'm not using that area of yard.
Oh, you're counting it not your yard anymore.
Well, I don't care. They can have it if they want it.
Okay. I thought you were going, still my yard. Glad you did 2 strips that I don't have to do.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's still my yard. It's like the side yard, like the side of my house. Like I don't use that.
Okay, so question for all of our middlers. I'm going with it, guys. I'm going with middlers. Yeah.
Middlers.
Question for all of our friends. If your neighbor is borrowing your mower and had to go past a section of your yard anyway, would you want them to turn the blades on and mow it? Or would that make it way worse? And now your OCD is like, nope, can't handle it. Now I got to go mow. So what was the right call? Should I have just driven 4 times and not done anything? or did I make the right decision?
Yeah.
Because now I'm feeling like I'm going to have to send him a thank you card and a sorry card at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And mow his lawn for him.
And mow his lawn for him.
Yeah, just finish
Dang
the
it.
yard.
Dang it.
Yeah.
I've ruined everything.
He wasn't going to mow for a week anyways, apparently. So just finish it in that week.
Just do it.
Okay.
You should do it as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Does his lawnmower have lights on the front of it?
Yep.
Okay. Tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. Get going.
All right.
And then he'll come out yelling, shirtless,
Sorry.
in the middle of the night.
Sorry, Saad. I'm very sorry.
His name is Saad.
Yeah, they're from Israel.
And we're talking about, never mind. I'm not going to. Talking about mowing grass.
Yeah,
That's
it's
all.
like a
That's
pun.
all. I was just going to point out the thing there.
Sorry, Saad. So yeah, just got back from Honduras on a mission trip / humanitarian trip. If you don't know what mission trip means and you think I'm like a weird religious person, great trip. We were supposed to go to Haiti. So this was my wife and our 2 oldest children, our daughters. And we were supposed to go to Haiti, but there's a bunch of civil unrest there. So it probably wouldn't have been wise to try to go. So we rerouted and went to one of the organization's other locations in San Pedro Sula, Honduras, the northern kind of part of Honduras, and had a great trip. It was really, really cool. Did some work projects and some VBSs and just loved on people, you know. Really proud of my wife and really proud of my daughters. They totally got out of their comfort zones. The middle one, Chloe, she's a little bit of a princess, and she can very easily get overwhelmed or scared. So we were most concerned about her. She's only 9. That this would be maybe too much out of her comfort zone too soon. She did awesome multiple times within the safety of this little compound area. We would say, "Where's Chloe?" Because she was just off playing with the Honduran kids and introducing herself to people in Spanish.
What?
My kids learned Spanish. They taught them each other Spanish, and this
I can count to 11.
you did. You modeled that you displayed that at the beginning of our episode. So, and then Lily, my 12-year-old, she did each night on a mission trip. Somebody different from the group. Some Americans went with us from a church nearby. Each night, somebody different leads a little devotional. We go through a little study together. And so the first night, Lily led the devotional, and the woman who was overseeing our whole trip goes, this kid has a knack for like teaching, and she knows her Bible. And she was like, she should just like teach every night at these VBSs. So she basically did like little mini sermons for 150 some kids. And I was just so wicked proud of her. So it was a great trip. I had been there in 2011, so I got to see some people that I had met before. Made some new friends, both Americans that went with us and then people in Honduras. So, and apparently we had to go to Central America to cool off because it was a heat wave when we were gone. You guys had it way hotter than we did.
Yeah. I didn't know jeans could cling so tightly. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable.
Yeah. And then I come back and it's like I said, it's like 70s during the day and 50 at night. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been up to. We got back like at 2 a.m. Almost didn't make it through customs in Miami and missed the last flight out of Miami back to Columbus. So that could have been dicey, but wasn't. And thank you, Jesus. And we're back, and it was a good trip.
Yeah. Any funny travel stories or anything?
Not funny specific to the travel, but funny specific to a comment that one of the ladies on the trip made. So very sweet woman. Can't say her name in case she listens, because we talked about the podcast while we were there with friends. I think we're going to do an episode on like men's hygiene, and like it'd be fun to talk about like different products we use and like hipster beard grease and different things like that. But anyway, so this is getting too far down a rabbit trail. Sorry, not sorry. So I've always kind of been a little weird about my hair. Like I'm kind of proud. I was anyway back in the day proud of my hair. I grew up watching shows like Full House, and Jesse was always like weird about his hair. And in Saved by the Bell, Zach was like, and Slater both were like, God, they were like really weird about their hair.
What to the rest of us was a joke. Kory was like, oh, that's how real, man.
That's a role model.
Yeah. So like my hair was kind of like my thing, right, in high school, and I think it was anyway. So it's gotten thinner over the years, and So I'm very self-conscious about that. So anyway, our new friend on the mission trip, so she was up like a couple feet above me on a bus, and I was down on ground level getting up into the bus, and she's just staring down at me, and she just goes, do you know you have a lot of gray hair and are balding? And I just stared into her eyes, thinking, okay, the filters that a normal person would have, that comment would clink through and go, I probably shouldn't say that. She doesn't have those filters. And that's okay. And I go, yeah, I know. I'm a little overweight too. Would you like to talk about that?
Did you actually tell her that?
No. And I wanted to say, do you know you lack couth? But it was at first it was like really funny, and then it got a little sad, and then it went back to funny again, and now here I am telling all of you. So not funny travel, just funny people stuff.
Yeah.
It was a great trip, and it was really cool to just love on people and pray with people and just as we say in the church, be Jesus with skin on to the best of our ability. So yeah, great trip.
Good.
Kendall, what's been up with you since we last chatted?
Oh boy. Pretty much the same kinds of things. Latest news of what I will now call what's going on in Kendall's garage.
We didn't know we had a new segment, but here we are.
Yeah, no, it's I'm tearing a piano apart, kind of piece by piece, gutting the whole thing. So that's fun.
Like to restore it?
DIY thing? Or
no, it's a piano that I've had for a long time, and I've just kind of been storing it at my parents' house, and then like literally over a year ago, I brought it back to our home. It's been sitting in my garage, and it's an old upright Wurlitzer piano, that would need some things fixed on it, and like sitting in my garage, like it's not even like sitting in its normal, like it's like sitting on end in my garage, and I've had it kind of like tucked away in a corner for over a year now, maybe even longer, and no, what I'm doing with it is I'm sure you guys have probably seen this before. Like I'm going to use it as a keyboard stand, right? So we have a keyboard that's on stage,
right? And
I'm gutting this piano so that the keyboard will essentially fit in it.
Okay.
So
yeah,
on stage you have this thing that looks like a piano, but it's a digital piano.
That's cool.
And so that's been fun and more work, but more interesting than I thought it would be.
Are you following like a tutorial? Or
no,
like somebody that's
just going at, like literally the other day I didn't have any kind of tool that would grip the tuning pegs.
Yeah.
For the strings, and I tried all kinds of different things, and they're so close together that I can't really get like vice grips in there. And then like I tried a couple different like empty socket extensions that would kind of fit, but they're just so seized on there. Yeah. So like I literally like stood behind the piano, put on a glove, reached my hand around, and snapped a string to see what would happen.
I would be scared that would like...
I was scared too, which is why I was trying to avoid it.
Yeah.
But then
I was
like...
on safety goggles?
No, that's okay. No, I was literally if you can imagine, like I'm ducking behind the piano and then like reaching my arm around the piano. So like I was fine. Like I did actually cut my hand once.
Yeesh.
But that was the only casualty, and I went through and I cut all the strings with some side snips, and that was worth mentioning. That was actually a really fun. It took there's a lot of strings involved on a piano.
So if you've ever
more than 88,
if you've ever converted an old piano into a keyboard stand and can help Kendall out, send us a link. Or
I still have seized bolts trying to get like the big metal, the thing that weighs like 500 pounds that makes a piano heavy is the harp. Yeah, and because I mean it's cast iron and solid. It's what the strings are attached to, and there's like I don't know, something stupid like 40,000 pounds of tension on that thing.
Wow.
So it's strong and big and weighs hundreds of pounds. Without that harp in there, like a piano is just like a piece of furniture.
Right.
It weighs like a heavy coffee table.
Yeah.
But for anybody who's tried to move a piano, the reason why you can't is because of that harp.
Right.
And so it's got some seized on. Like I'm down to like a few other bolts that I just have to be kind of creative with how I'm getting some of that stuff out.
So none of the guts of it matter. You're just literally using the stand.
I'm trying to make it lighter.
Yeah.
By getting that harp out. Yeah. And then,
but you're not trying to salvage any keys or strings or harps or anything.
I'm throwing it all away except for the harp. I think the harp actually looks really cool.
Okay.
So when I get that out of there, I think I might like try to attach legs to it, put a glass top on it, make it a table or something.
Oh, cool. You're so creative.
But
it is a DIY project.
So that part will be a DIY project.
Yeah. Okay.
But
because I've seen people like take the tops of a piano and put them on a wall and do shelves across, and then they use like books and candles or whatever they want to stack.
That's
on
fun.
It.
I've seen a couple of things like that.
That's like where my head jumped to when you first mentioned tearing apart a piano. Like I was like, oh, cool, you're gonna make a coffee table or a wall thing or something.
Yeah. No, I'm taking it apart to make it lighter, and then and then I'm just fitting it so that the keyboard will fit inside of it. That's all.
Yeah.
This has been What's Going On in Kendall's Garage.
Yeah. I feel like I should mention, by the way, I've watched several more movies recently. As a huge movie guy,
Oh, yeah.
I have some less time than I used to. I finally got to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know what the full title is. I got to see Spider-Man Far From Home. I watched Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. These are probably old for some people, but Far From Home's not. That's still new. But yeah, so we can talk about movies too. I didn't mention that when I
would love to. And there's also been some new additions to Netflix that we've been waiting on for a while. And some trailers that have come out recently that look super good. The Top Gun one that came out at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Top Gun
I didn't think
Maverick.
that looked good, but I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
You didn't think it looked good?
I did not think it looked
You had the story about the bar with Goose's piano.
It's literally the first thing I thought
I didn't
of.
say I wasn't going to enjoy it.
Yeah, but why didn't it look good?
It just like the trailer
Yeah.
for the new Top Gun
I got
movie.
goosebumps.
Goose.
Sorry. Did you see Sebastian Maniscalco watching the trailer?
No.
Okay, so comedian Sebastian
You're creepy.
Maniscalco.
Who we've never talked about on this show.
Never. He's recording. He likes to do videos of his phone pointing at himself talking, usually with his wife or kid in the background or something. So he's got the movie trailer on a TV behind him. He's holding the camera so that his face it's aimed at his face, and then behind him is the trailer playing, and he's literally narrating with side glances the whole trailer. He's like, "Oh, the leather jacket. Ooh, it's pretty funny."
Okay, is that on Instagram?
Because apparently it's probably the only movie he likes. Yeah, my wife showed it to me because I think she follows him on Instagram or Facebook or something. So it was pretty good since we're talking about it.
I felt like that from watching that trailer. What I thought to myself was, I'm going to like this movie because of what it is.
Right.
Like I'm going to enjoy it because of that. I am not probably going to come out of watching that movie thinking that the dialogue was well written. I think the trailer itself, like just the dialogue that was in the trailer just seemed contrived and forced. And
well, I thought the same about Hobbs and Shaw, but I'm going to go enjoy the heck out of that in the theater.
I didn't say I wasn't going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I just said I didn't think it looked good.
Yeah. So,
if I put on my movie critic hat, I would probably I would say that the trailer did not look good. If I put in it's Top Gun and I'm excited,
sure,
then the trailer was awesome.
Here's a question. It's interesting the idea that the plot or whatever that they're showing in the trailer would feel forced when they had 30 years to work on it. But how much can they really do with like a Navy pilot that's that different than Top Gun? Like, do you think they just accepted when they were talking about making a second one? Like, yeah, we don't need much for the plot. Like,
they literally didn't have in the trailer. It looks like the plot is literally just like, okay, so you guys all know Maverick and nothing has changed. He's in the same job.
Yeah.
And
yeah, still a pilot.
It's
still a
I'm pretty
kind of
sure
a rebel
in the military world, like he would have been fired a long time ago.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Advanced by then.
Do you think they just looked at it and said, I mean, they had 30 some years probably to literally write whatever plot they could have come up with.
But yet they waited till the last minute.
Yeah, somehow. But is that essentially like the live action G.I. Joe movies? Like, look, we don't need to spend a lot of time on this part.
Sure.
The special effects, the nostalgia is going to carry this thing.
It's going to make money.
Yeah.
Also,
we're inevitably going to see Tom Cruise run at full speed somewhere on the ground because he does it in every movie.
So much running.
You're going to see him just sprinting.
And hanging from the edges of things.
Yes. Yep. Lots of that. And some planes in there probably.
Mm-hmm.
You won't see any
motorcycles and leather jackets and sunglasses.
There won't be a goose in it, but you'll see some other things.
There was a meme that says, who's not excited about the new Top Gun movie? And it was the actor that played. Just a picture of him at the piano.
Yeah.
Or in the cockpit, I forget. Also, Tom Hanks in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. The Mr. Rogers story. That looks good.
Oh, yeah.
Some things that have come out on Netflix. So we're big, Dillon and I can't speak for Kendall, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee fans. The Jerry Seinfeld's interview show with comedians. That just got another season. You're almost done with it already.
Yeah. It's recently out, and I've been blitzing through it. And there's some fresh faces on there. Some comments. Yeah. He's traditionally done the bigger TV stand-up movie comedians, and there's some fresh faces in there that I literally don't even know who they are. So I'm excited to hear from. I think at the time, one of the least known people I think he had interviewed was probably like Trevor Noah. Was not as popular at the time that episode came out, and that's one of the least known people. Yeah. John Oliver, unless you happen to follow HBO, would have been a lesser known name. But I don't know these names at all, so I'm excited. But there's been some really great moments so far in the new season.
I just saw the first with Eddie Murphy, and that was really good. It was like it's good to have a fresh batch of those shows. It's one of my favorites.
If you're asking yourself, why should I watch Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee?
Oh.
You see what I did there?
I did.
It's shorter form, so 15 to 20 minutes an episode. The show is exactly what the title sounds like. Jerry Seinfeld gets some kind of car that he feels embodies his guest, and they talk about whatever they want. Sometimes it's them kind of comedically riffing. Sometimes it's very serious. There's been some episodes with some people that it's really not that humorous. It
gets pretty deep.
It can get pretty deep, but really they're just talking about whatever they want to talk about. They'll typically stop at least once and get coffee, sometimes multiple times and eat multiple times. And that's literally the whole show. It's not scripted. It's just, let's hang out and let's chat.
Yeah.
So.
That's very cool. Also, Stranger Things season 3 came out recently. I binged that in a couple days. It delivered again. I don't know if you guys are Stranger Things fans.
Never watched a minute of it.
Well,
people seemed excited.
It was something like, I'm going to make up numbers if these aren't real. It was something like 60% of Netflix watchers had watched the new season within like 4 days of it coming out. I mean, it was something obscene. Yeah. Like crazy numbers of watchers. You can fact check that later, but I was surprised reading some of the headlines. I knew it was kind of big, but I had no idea it was that big. Like I said, I've not seen a minute. I literally don't even know the premise of the show.
Well, why should I watch? To me, it's a beautiful love letter to the 80s films like Goonies, like E.T., Steven Spielberg stuff. If you remember the movie, excuse me, Super 8, which kind of had that sort of gritty feel of the 80s. And so there's just tons of 80s references. But it's a classic sort of, monster bad guy movie, but just done in that style. And because it's kids as the central figures of the show, even though it's scarier. And I will say, multiple other adult friends of mine have said, like, I'm not going to show my kids season 3. Like, I'll let them watch season 1 and 2. But season 3 got pretty dark. So to all the parents out there, it's great for you if you like the show. But I don't know. It's kind of iffy it gets a little grotesque and it's a little dark in some parts. But I think because kids are the central figures, it kind of makes it safer somehow because you're watching it sort of through this happier-go-luckier lens. And so you can identify they're playing Dungeons and Dragons and referencing Star Wars and Never-Ending Story and all these things, right? So it's got that feel. It's like, oh, I grew up on a lot of that stuff. So That was a big hit. You talked Spider-Man, so let's take like 15, 20 minutes maybe and talk about Far From Home. And then I've been wanting to talk about streaming services. I think we may have mentioned it briefly in a previous episode, but there seems to be a lot of confusion about what's going on with Netflix, quote unquote, losing shows and other streaming services that are coming out like Disney Plus and others. So I know, Dillon, you're pretty knowledgeable and read up on the subject. One of my friends on Facebook the other day said, like, curse you, Netflix, for getting rid of Friends, because Friends is leaving in 2020, or The Office.
Yeah.
And
Netflix
both
would
are
love
leaving.
nothing more than to keep The Office.
And people are like mad because they think Netflix has made some decision to just not have these shows anymore. So I think it would be beneficial to anyone that streams anything, almost everyone, to just understand at least a surface level of what's going on. So that's kind of our plan for the rest of the episode. Let's start with Spider-Man.
Cool.
I just saw it for a second time this morning. Far From Home. So spoiler alert, if you've not seen Spider-Man Far From Home, we're going to be spoiling it. Just initial thoughts. You saw it?
Yeah, I think so. Somewhere in one of the previous episodes, we talked about Avengers Endgame. Mm-hmm. And my biggest question coming out of Avengers Endgame was, how do you take this potentially universe-ending incident that is the whole final battle with Thanos in Avengers Endgame, and this huge villain, and all these heroes fighting alongside one another against all of these villains and minions and things like that? How do you have something that massive and bring it back down and essentially reset the tension? Mm-hmm. So how do you take this massively built tension and bring it all the way back down? Now, I will say the first movie after Avengers, one thing that I knew going in that would be beneficial was you're taking arguably you're sort of resetting the tension with arguably one of the most popular superheroes in the world. I think if in like kind of universal rankings, it's like Superman, Spider-Man, Batman are like three of the most iconic superheroes. Right. So it helps that you're resetting with Spider-Man. Because people will always go see a Spider-Man movie.
Right.
And so that was my biggest question going into Far From Home. What's this going to feel like? Again, big spoiler for Endgame if you haven't seen it. And Spider-Man, pause here for sure and come back after you've watched them. So you've got Peter dealing with, reeling from the death of Tony Stark. Iron Man dies in Avengers Endgame. And that was such a cool segue from the movie that it added this layer of drama that I wasn't expecting them to play up a lot. I don't know why. It feels really obvious now that I've watched the movie that they would tie that in. But the movie's dealing with some teenage things that Peter has going on. He's still in high school. It's dealing with, him sort of, is he the new Iron Man? Is he not? Is he the leader of the Avengers? He doesn't want to be. He's a kid.
But in some ways, Tony kind of passed the mantle to him.
He did.
And so he feels that pressure.
He feels that level of pressure. And so I think the things that stuck out to me as I was watching it, first of all, if anybody hasn't seen it and they were unsure, describing part of the movie as Spider-Man dealing with teenage issues might make it feel like it's a kind of teeny boppery, like, oh, it's going to be like a high school movie.
Right.
They did an incredibly good job at balancing out a kid dealing with issues in a way that would not isolate an adult audience.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And say, oh, this whole part of the movie isn't for me. Like, it's very genuine. And we've talked about Spider-Man's one of the most relatable superheroes for that reason. He was just the awkward, nerdy teenage kid who didn't fit in. And I think that's why so many, especially going back in our actual history, that's why so many comic book nerds sort of attach themselves to Spider-Man. It's like, yes, I can relate to what this kid's dealing with. Mm-hmm. But they balance that so well. You have a villain in Mysterio is the villain in this one that sort of creates some drama that Peter has to deal with while he's balancing these age-sensitive issues. He creates these big problems that Peter has to deal with that still feel very big scale. Like they could it definitely become bigger problems. So I don't want to give too much away. I know we did a spoiler alert, but I thought it was a lot of great tension. I love the segue from Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
I thought they handled the teenage sort of issues really well, and it was still really interesting. Jon Favreau shows up, which is always great. He's kind of this new father figure to Peter now that Tony Stark's character is gone. And so I thought it was so good. I thought they handled it really well, and it didn't feel like the movies aren't going to be as interesting now.
Yeah, we said that in episode 2. We were like, how in the world are they going to come down from this? And that was my biggest concern as a Spider-Man fan, like how unfortunate that you viewed it as a positive. I was like, oh no, as my favorite character is going to have to bear the weight of having to come down from, like you just said, this epic battle, tons of heroes, tons of villains, how scary Thanos was and the power that he had. We're going down to one character, a single plot, a single villain. How in the world is that not going to feel so tiny? And then when you said teen angsty sort of romance, kind of high school drama, you might think, wow, they went to that level of granularity, like really tiny. You went from big to this really like high school issues. How in the world? And like you said, somehow masterfully pulled that off. I said it this way: they gave you the scale of the broader MCU by having Agent Hall and Nick Fury and Happy, and they still had all those people in the movie, so you felt the weight. And there's tons of references. The whole world is mourning Tony, the loss of Tony.
Yeah, and dealing with all the repercussions of the people that were snapped away.
Yes, that was really cool to see.
And brought back.
The blip.
So the whole idea of the blip, where some people are coming back having not aged when everyone else around them had aged, because they sort of went into this mysterious place and came back.
Right.
And so I think the thing that Spider-Man has in its favor, because it's attached with Sony to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is you still felt the weight of the whole universe dealing with the ramifications of Endgame, even though it was a standalone Spider-Man film in theory. So you were still feeling the effects, and all the weight of the universe is still attached to it. And it's sort of like how was Endgame would it be as a standalone film? And I'm like, well, it's not though. It's part of a universe. It's really that all over again. I didn't anticipate a film still carrying that much weight with it from a previous film, but it did emotionally if you're invested into the characters. If you casually watch a movie here or there, you might not enjoy it as much. But I thought, having watched virtually every film in the MCU, but I think one, they did an awesome job.
It absolutely delivered. And you're also dealing with the issue of Peter sort of wanting to take a break after all the craziness of Endgame. He just wants to go on vacation. And then, just like what happens in comic book world, bad stuff happens. And so he's kind of like, there's almost this avoidance of the responsibility for a while.
Yeah, in fact, that's where drama comes in, because he passed the responsibility to who he thought was a new mentor too quickly in his desire to offload this weight that he feels Tony put on him to lead the Avengers. He offloads that responsibility so quickly. He just wants it gone so quickly that who he thought was a hero in Mysterio is actually a villain, and now has new capabilities and now Peter's made a bigger problem for himself than if he had just carried the weight of it. So yeah, it was really well done.
So let's talk about how it could segue and the implications at the end. There's a spoiler, not a spoiler. There's a big reveal and cameo. J.K. Simmons, who has played, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name.
J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, thank you. J. Jonah Jameson actually shows footage of Mysterio announcing Spider-Man's identity. So first of all, it was J.K. Simmons who was Jameson before in the Andrew Garfield films. Is that right?
The Tobey Maguire films, I
Tobey
believe.
Maguire films, yep. And only in those Sam Raimi movies did anyone else, or did the world know that Spider-Man was Peter Parker. So that's a fun sort of twist that now the identity that he's tried to keep secret is now no longer a secret. So
Yeah.
and it had to be J.K. Simmons who played Jameson. He does such a great job in that role.
We're getting real deep, so let me backtrack a little bit. In the early 2000s Spider-Man trilogy, where Tobey Maguire played Spider-Man, this sort of citizen adversary to Spider-Man is the head of a newspaper, the Daily Bugle, who always wants to sell, well, ironically, fake news before fake news was fake news, sell this idea that Spider-Man was always a villain. And it was played by the actor that you mentioned. They brought him back to play the same role, but in a different, that wasn't part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That was the same type of movie. It was Spider-Man, but to bring him all the way back to play the same character again. And it sort of builds on this idea that is teased in the movie, but you find out isn't true, the idea of a multiverse and crossing from somebody potentially leaving their version of their universe, coming to a different version of the universe and seeing themselves that might be slightly different or the same. So the idea that's being teased, is there a multiverse in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which could mean things like characters who've died in the main universe could show up from others, or that J.K. Simmons is playing the same character, but even in multiple universes. And it was teased the idea that maybe we could see Tobey Maguire, who played Spider-Man in the early 2000 unrelated films, and then Andrew Garfield, it was rebooted to play Spider-Man again.
The Amazing Spider-Man.
Amazing Spider-Man, also in unrelated Spider-Man movies. What if all three of those Spider-Man actors showed up in the same movie and sort of in a fun way connected it all
with Tom Holland.
So what if Tobey Maguire as an unrelated Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield as an unrelated Spider-Man, and Tom Holland as the MCU Spider-Man all got together on screen?
So for the people who have said, "Oh, I'm so tired of them rebooting the Spider-Man movies," they're all different. One loved Gwen Stacy, one loved Mary Jane. It's so annoying. They keep doing it over and over and over. Well, first of all, you need to understand that's because of who owns the licenses and who's allowed to do it, and that's just the reality of making movies. However, that would be a really fun way to retcon or make it all make sense that there was actually. You could tie that all together and make it seem and make it make sense or make it round itself out to Multiverse, which was done in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where there are different versions of Spider-Man.
And maybe even nothing more than we realize we've rebooted Spider-Man, under Sony and Marvel 3 times in 20 years. So it's a little bit of fan service.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching along.
Yeah.
Here's a fun little thing we're going to throw together. And I could even maybe see them doing a little side clip that gets uploaded to Marvel's YouTube channel where they have them show up and have a fun little,
I think Tom Holland has said he's down for it if that should happen, but that's a rumor as well.
Yeah,
anyway.
and I don't know how much work Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are doing that they should say no or not, but it might be a fun way to kind of bring it all together. So ultimately, that's a really elaborate way to say they're kind of tying all these unrelated Spider-Man, not all trilogies, but these films together in a kind of quirky, fun way. But yeah, Far From Home, any final thoughts on that?
No, again, just I'm so impressed at how they were able to sort of wind down or decrescendo, to use a music term, from such a big, weighty movie into a single hero, single villain sort of arc. And I think they did it. I was like, wow, that delivered. I think it was really good. It was fun. Yeah.
Now, after having kind of slept on it and thought about it, I liked Far From Home ultimately better than Into the Spider-Verse, which most people aren't going to agree with that saw both. Into the Spider-Verse got like rave reviews. And so Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was an animated film. So Spider-Man is obviously a Marvel character, but Sony owns the rights to make Spider-Man movies. They just worked out a deal with the Marvel film crew to include Spider-Man in some of these MCU movies, but Sony can still make these spin-off animated movies like they did in Into the Spider-Verse.
Right.
So I thought it was very good. I think the nicest thing I can say about it, I've never watched anything that made me feel like I was looking at a comic like that. Mm-hmm. The MCU is a visual representation of what the comic world should look like
Right.
in real life. This was like watching a paper comic book made of that was videos.
Yeah.
And you can speak more to the art style because that's not going to be my sweet spot. But I thought it was fun. They tied in. Our dad didn't like it. I knew as soon as I watched the movie Into the Spider-Verse, the whole premise is it's the multiverse theory here as well. And there's silly Spider-Man showing up from other universes. And as soon as I saw
Peter Porker,
it's like the pig from Looney Tunes with the Spider-Man costume on. I went, Dad doesn't like it, so this is not for Dad, because it's kind of silly. There's an anime character, the anime Japanese art style looking character called Penny Parker, who has a robot, and all that feels very Japanese. And then they go to this Looney Tunes pig with the Spider-Man costume, and then back to the normal art style. I knew as soon as it started bouncing around, it wasn't going to be for some people, but visually it was so much fun to watch. The last kind of note on Into the Spider-Verse, and I'll let you throw in your thoughts. Spider-Man's a really hard character to make emote, and they did an incredibly good job. You don't have a mouth, you don't have eyes. When he's in costume, it's literally just the bug eyes, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They did an incredibly good job at moving the eyes in such exaggerated ways that you literally knew exactly how Spider-Man felt about anything that was happening. It was really funny too how they handled that. So I thought it was really, really amusing. I'm curious to see if Sony does more of those kind of animated films. I think they did a really good job. I can't imagine they don't.
Because people were tired of rebooting the traditional Peter Parker over and over and over, the studio only wanted to do this if they could focus on a different Spider-Man, which is Miles Morales. So it's a totally different hero, and that's why it felt sort of okay to explore into this realm of some pretty different and unique, groundbreaking animation. We didn't have the podcast when I first saw it. It's one of my top 3 movies of all time. Absolutely loved it. It won an Academy Award, right, for animated feature. You can look that, I'm pretty sure, if not countless other awards. And here's what I loved about it. There were 3 directors, and the studios, the executives, who are can normally from what I've heard, sort of throw water on some of the creative processes. What are you looking up? What it won?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Best animated feature.
Yeah, Academy Award though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So normally the execs in the suits can sort of stifle creativity. In this case, the studios said, keep pushing every possible boundary, and gave these directors complete exploratory creative freedom. And in many ways, that is why it succeeded, because it is so different. It's so unique. A lot of people thought it was 2D animated. It's actually 3D animated for the most part, with lots of cool comic booky brush textures over top of the 3D models. But absolutely amazing. Loved it. But yeah, I'm surprised to hear you say you liked Far From Home better. But very different, and it would make sense because you love the MCU so much.
Yeah, I'm the weird one there. That's fine.
No. It would make sense because you love the MCU so much that ties in where the other one doesn't. So,
a couple other fun facts. Rotten Tomatoes, the movie review site, it has a 97%, which is ridiculously high. And it made about almost 4 times its budget, just under $400 million worldwide. So it was absolutely a successful movie. That's an obscene amount of money to make on an animated film.
Oh yeah.
So I can't imagine there won't be several more greenlit after how well it did.
Sure.
especially winning an Academy Award. All of those things, just absolute massive success.
I think we put Kendall to sleep.
Yeah.
Did you want to comment on Spider-Man?
I have not watched either of the movies. I'm also getting over a virus. So if you hear snoring, it's...
We won't take it personally. So since we talked studios, licenses, things like that, let's do a quick little overview of what's going on with streaming services and clear up the confusion.
Yeah.
You know a lot more about this. I'll let you kind of start, and then I'll fill in just a couple key points on.
Yeah, jump in. I can be boring. So I'm certainly not an expert, but let's start with your original comment. So you had said somebody that you knew made the comment, how can Netflix, yada, yada. That's a really common sentiment that
The last thing Netflix wants to do is lose the rights to something like The Office, which is like the most watched show on their platform, and Friends, which is probably in the top 5, if not second.
Yeah. They wouldn't want to lose rights to anything.
Yeah. Here's the really quick backstory. Netflix started buying content from companies like NBC and Warner Brothers, things like that, to stream on their platform when nobody else had a platform. So if you're Warner Brothers, and I'm going to make up some numbers here, and you've got Friends, and Netflix comes to you, you don't have a way to distribute it other than somebody buying your DVDs or selling it to TBS to put on replays forever.
Right.
But you have these streaming rights you didn't know you have, and Netflix came to you and said, "I'll offer you $100 million for 3 years to let my customers stream your show unlimited." You're absolutely going to take that money and run. Mm-hmm. That's one more revenue stream on an old show that's just sitting there. Netflix wins, you win, the actors get residuals. It's great for everybody all the way around. Now, fast forward. Cable companies are not as successful as they once were, which means there's not as much money to go around for all of those old shows as there used to be. Netflix has a massive hit. They've been really successful. They probably won't be forever, but they are as of now, this moment. And now you're realizing, hey, I could, if I have all this content that I own, and maybe cable's not what it used to be for these millennials and growing, it's not just millennials at this point, why don't I just pay to build some kind of software app and website, keep all my content to myself, not let Netflix make money off of me, and I'll just start selling my own subscription to my own thing. And that's not new. Everyone knows that. You know, Hulu's been around for a while. HBO's been a part of cable forever. They started offering a streaming only thing, which was big news in the streaming world when that happened. Whoa, HBO's only ever been on cable. Now you can pay for just HBO for $15. Mm-hmm. And so all these media companies, there's only probably 5 or 6 that own virtually all the popular content, just started going, yeah, why don't we just do our own thing? Right. So don't blame Netflix. Netflix would have probably paid obscene amounts of money to keep things like The Office and Friends. But Netflix was buying that stuff fairly cheap early on. And as companies started to realize how much it was worth, we're charging more and more and more and more. And so people complain, well, why is my Netflix? When I signed up, it was $7 and now it's $15. Yeah, because NBC quit charging, $3 million to stream The Office. Right. They started charging $100 million to stream The Office.
Exactly. So I'll phrase it a slightly different way. I'm quoting a Forbes article here that says, so in other words, Netflix built its business on the back of other companies' content, and it worked incredibly well. They now have 149 million subscribers, but one by one, Netflix's colossal competitors have woken up. They're ending their contracts with Netflix, taking back control of their own content and launching their own streaming services that will compete. For example, Disney Plus. Take, for example, the 3 best-selling movies so far this year: Avengers Endgame, Captain Marvel, and Aladdin. Disney owns all 3. The 3 best-selling movies of 2018 were Black Panther, Infinity War, and Incredibles 2. Disney owns all 3. The 3 best-selling movies of 2017, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and Beauty and the Beast. Disney owns all 3. Friends, for example, I'm skipping ahead in the article. According to Friends, according to something Wall Street Journal, the most watched show on Netflix is The Office. Netflix does not own The Office. NBC Universal owns The Office. Friends. Everybody loves watching Friends on Netflix. That's owned by Warner Media, which is now owned by AT&T.
Right.
So all of these platforms are going, this is all of our stuff anyway. So Netflix hasn't done anything wrong. Now they knew this was coming.
Yes.
Which is why they started doing all their own original content, lots of new stand-up specials.
So House of Cards, Orange is the New Black. They bought the rights to do Comedians in Cars Doing Coffee. They're doing Stranger Things. They saw this coming and started creating their own content. In fact, they're spending something like $12 or $14 billion a year on original content when their revenue is a fraction of that.
There's like 12 new animated series that just got added.
They're buying all kinds of rights to books and TV and film to make more content. But they see this coming where everyone's retracting their content after the deals expire, and they're creating their own platforms and apps. So that kind of answers the quit blaming Netflix. If you don't like Netflix, cancel it, but it's not their fault. It's not their content in the first place. They're trying to build new content that you'll like, so you'll keep paying for it. But they're not going to be the biggest streamer in the world probably in the next 3 to 5 years.
Right.
So now we're looking at things like, or another popular thing to say, and I feel like it's people that work for the cable industry that are just trying to mess with people. You'll see on these social media posts like, well, by the time I pay for all these streaming services, it's going to cost more than cable. Well, first of all, why would you pay for every streaming service that's available? And second, if you are paying for every single one, yeah, just get cable. Like, that's easier to just have channels. There's some exclusive content, sure, but that's not what this model was for. We're still in a better place, and I think people need to quit thinking of it like, I need to get every service that comes out so that I can watch all of this stuff. If you really love the content that much, then yeah, sure, subscribe to it. But let's look at it this way. All of these are very simple. When you sign up for cable, somebody comes out, they install a box, you set up service, it's tied to your internet. If you cancel it, it's kind of a hassle. You got to call, you got to drop the stuff back off. Nobody likes dealing with that. If you sign up for a streaming service, you literally create an account on the website, you put in a credit card, you do the free trial, and literally any moment you don't like it, you log back in and hit unsubscribe. Done.
Right.
So people need to kind of view all these streaming options as kind of an a la carte, what do I want to watch right now kind of thing.
Sure.
Maybe you don't pay for 15 streaming services across a whole year every year.
Right.
Maybe, oh, hey, HBO has a new show I want to watch. Why don't you pay for it for 2 months and then cancel it?
Do the month-to-month plan.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to and are like try to pull you into a contract of sorts to save money.
Yeah, naturally.
But like to your point, like just don't do that.
Yeah,
Just do,
no big deal.
That's month to month.
That's the equivalent of going by the magazine aisle, which people don't really buy magazines much anymore, and going, I'll never be able to read all these articles. Well, don't read all the articles.
Well, I can't read every one of these magazines. Well, yeah, you wouldn't.
You would never do that.
Yeah, you'd pick the most interesting and you'd buy those and read those.
No one's asking you to pay for all of them.
Some of these arguments are really dumb. I think in the long run, if we're going to go to 20 streaming services in a year or two, maybe we're gonna contract again, and eventually I think we'll narrow down to really the best ones. But even if there's 20, who cares?
Right.
If you want to watch the new Star Trek show, go pay for CBS All Access long enough to watch the 2 seasons and then cancel it.
Exactly.
Nobody needs to view this. Literally discussing it like an all or nothing situation is the opposite of what these were built for.
So not to do a commercial for Disney Plus, but did you talk about, I had to step out.
Not yet. So Kendall mentioned, sometimes they're going to try to lure you in with a better price. Disney Plus is doing exactly that. So Disney Plus is a new streaming service that's yet to launch. It'll launch later this year. It's going to be something like $6.99 a month. So $7 a month, let's say. Or if you pay for a year in full, it's going to be like $70. So if you do the math, it's 2 months free.
Right.
If you're into Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar, Disney, Muppets, National Geographic. Disney owns Fox now, by the way, not Fox News and Fox Sports, but all the other Fox content. We've probably mentioned it. That's going to give you access to The Simpsons and Family Guy and Futurama and all the... If you're into those things, then yeah, sign up for a year and save 2 months worth.
And every Disney movie ever?
Virtually, yeah. They said something like, 500 films right out of the gate and thousands of episodes of TV shows. I'm sure they own ABC, they own, ABC Family and all those like kiddie channels, Disney XD, all that stuff's going to be on there. So if that makes sense for you, sign up for it for as long as it makes sense, then cancel it. People just need to view these things as...
But then a lot of really good exclusive content too that you can't get anywhere else.
That's where it gets a little dicier. So if your argument is, why wouldn't I just have cable instead of every service? Well, you wouldn't. But if you want to sign up for one temporarily because Disney Plus is going to have a new exclusive live-action Star Wars show called The Mandalorian, sign up long enough to watch The Mandalorian and then cancel it. It's people. That's how people just need to view the world now. It's not, well, I signed up for Time Warner 8 years ago, and people telling me to call and threaten to cancel, but I don't want to do that because I want sports. There's alternatives to these kind of things. So... even sports. So I think that's really, those are the two biggest complaints. Don't blame Netflix because it's not their content to keep forever. Mm-hmm. They were paying a ton of money to try to get stuff you wanted to watch, and it's not their fault that they can't keep it. Second, there are streaming alternatives to cable as well. I like to call them cable clones. So like there's an app that you can use on something like an Apple TV or Roku to get actual channels like TBS and TNT and your local channels, things like that. There's stuff like DirecTV Now, not DirecTV, that's traditional satellite. DirecTV Now, you can get Hulu, the cheap plan, or Hulu with the cable type channels. PlayStation View, you don't have to have a PlayStation to watch PlayStation View. You can get the PlayStation View app on a lot of things, and it's $50 a month to get 80 channels like a normal cable thing. There's Sling TV, which is owned by Dish Network. YouTube actually has a cable type service, and some of those even have DVR options. It's just all streaming and on demand through the internet. And then there's kind of the cable alternative. So this is not going to be like your TV Guide, TBS, TNT, whatever. This is like platform. So that first batch, if you want to still keep sports and keep your news channels, look up the ones I just said. And those are generally still cheaper than cable. If you want to see like the cable alternatives, that's the CBS streaming app. Disney Plus that's coming out. HBO, you can pay standalone. Showtime, you can pay standalone. Netflix, Amazon Prime, as part of your Prime membership, you get access to their kind of cable alternative with content. It's very similar to Netflix. And then there's awesome freebie apps. Like, I don't think people know about things like Crackle, Tubi TV, TUBI. Pluto TV is awesome. And then talk to your library. They might be part of a system that you can use your library card membership to actually tap into some digital apps that you can use for books and music and movies and TV shows, things like that. So support your local library and also see if they're tied into any kind of streaming app to get you stuff on your phone and tablet and computer and streaming box, stuff like that. So there's lots of free options. There's lots of cheap options. And there's lots of very much cable clones. So there's tons of things you can look at. I think people just don't know what to look for or where to look. And that's not an all-inclusive list. It gets real niche. There's apps that are literally just soccer streaming subscriptions. There's like British TV subscriptions. If you're just into British TV, BBC has one, I think Acorn. There's stuff for operas. If you just want to watch operas, there's apps, subscriptions for that. There's so many different things. Those are literally just some of the biggest ones. But there's alternatives for cable. There's and easy. Sign up, cancel. As an example, last year, I'm going to do the same thing again this year. My wife and I agreed on what channels we would want during college football season and the holiday season. So the thing that made the most sense, we paid for like 4 or 5 months worth of a PlayStation View package. It was like $45-$50. It got all the sports channels I wanted. It got her the Hallmark channel to watch all the Christmas movies on Hallmark. We paid for it till mid-January and canceled it. That was it. So 4 or 5 months out of the year, I watch all the football and she watches all the Hallmark movies she wants. And we just go back to Netflix and Hulu after that. So, yeah, that's kind of like my take on the whole streaming thing in a nutshell.
I think it's good. I floated the idea by somebody that we should talk about this, and they said, who in the world is going to care about what's going on with Netflix and streaming services? And I was like, everyone that's confused about what's going on with Netflix and streaming services.
Or, everyone who's... I mean, if you're into Netflix at all, this is going to affect you.
Yeah.
You might not know it now because this might have been the first time you're hearing about it. But it's going to affect you.
But I think
you're going to have to make changes. And I think probably my guess is for most people, it's most people who end up dumping Netflix in favor of something else. The new norm is probably going to be we have Disney Plus and something else.
Right.
Probably Prime, maybe Netflix, maybe HBO. Yeah, I think realistically, most people that don't have cable are going to have 2 to 3 services to get most of their content.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever makes the most sense. But I hear, and I've done this a lot in past jobs, tons of people are like, well, I want to cancel cable, but... I don't know. There's so many. They don't even know where to start looking.
Sure.
It's a pretty short list, and all of them have what channels come in what bundles, and you can cancel any of them anytime. Just look. And honestly, I'll go so far as saying, comment when we post this episode. Comment on our social media. One of us will bring it to my attention. I'll literally even help you with it if you have questions. What do I need to buy to make it work? What kind of service is best for me?
Right.
Like, I'll just help you.
If you don't know how to shop those things, like... you can end up unnecessarily spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm thinking about the sports guys in particular. Like, the only, like, there's probably people who are sitting out there and they're like, well, I like to watch 4 different sports. And if I lose cable, then that means I'm tied into, like, the NFL network, and then the MLB thing, and then those are all $100 each.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the answer is no. Like you there are other options that you can look into. Like don't spend $400 to watch your sports. There's different ways to do it.
I think in the years of doing this kind of stuff, literally years and years and years, it was always seemed like the average price everyone was paying for cable and internet, $150, $200 plus.
Yeah.
And I would say something like, I'm paying right now, specifically, I pay $15 a month for internet, and then I have a couple streaming services. Even for the 4 or 5 months that I pay for PlayStation View at $50 a month or something like that and cancel it, I'm still way ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if I had to buy 3 or 4 Apple TVs or Rokus to hook them up to TVs around my house, I'm still way ahead. Mm-hmm. And so it always comes down to, well, what about insert local channels, insert sports channels, insert news channels? They're all available.
Is anybody actually confused that they can't get local channels with an antenna?
Yeah, a surprising.
Well, and also on streaming services, by the
this.
way. Like the PlayStation View has 3 of the 4 networks local channels.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
like
I have all 4, and I spent like $10 on an antenna.
Yeah, you can also always do that. But people are so programmed to literally turn on the box and it's all there.
Right.
When it's like, if you don't want to save potentially thousands of dollars a year, and I say that sounds sarcastic. I really don't mean it that way. If you don't want to potentially save that and that's not a concern for you, then by all means keep cable. Or if you love all the channels and there's tons to watch, by all means keep it. I don't care. But there's a lot of people that just need a little help. And
and that's honestly why I wanted to bring it up, because I thought it would legitimately behoove any of our customers they're
called middlers.
Friends who, do you have a young family? Do you do a lot of date nights in, like my wife and I? Do you enjoy TVs and or movies? Rather than just look at your Netflix and go, why does it seem like it's more stand-up specials, which I'm fine with, and Netflix only content, and where did Friends go, and where did The Office go, and where did the Marvel movies go? Now you're informed. You're welcome.
It's all on Disney Plus or something else.
So I hope that helps, and I do think it will apply to a lot of people that this has become like part of our culture, and so I thought that would.
Mm-hmm. It's a huge subject. It's a huge subject. Excuse me, because virtually everyone is using something. Like, my mother and father-in-law still have cable, but like she loves The Crown and is starting to love Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, and she's starting to realize she keeps texting him a couple times. It's so unfamiliar. She said, now, does it cost when I play individual titles? Because she's almost thinking of it like on-demand cable, like pay $2.99, pay $2.99. And I'm like, no, literally play as much as you want, as often as you want, because we made her an account on our Netflix.
Yeah.
And so I think legitimately tons of people just don't know.
Yep.
And so I sincerely mean it. If I can help you, comment on our social media, like, follow, whatever, hit me up, and I'll do what I can to help you out.
Good stuff. We've had a lot more interaction than normal, so keep that up on all of our social media outlets at From the Mid Pod. Email us at fromthemiddle@protonmail.com. Use the hashtag #ThoughtsFromTheMiddle if you'd like to hear us talk about something, ask a question, and then, as always, you can record. I know there was some people that were right on the fence, even told me about it in person. I almost left you guys a voicemail. Do it. You can do that by going to, what's the anchor.fm/fromthemiddle/message.
Yeah.
Our link is posted.
That's about right.
You can find it.
Look on our Facebook page. You'll find the link.
Yeah.
Right. Or even look in the details of where you're getting this podcast. And
That's right. It's probably posted.
Sick.
We love you guys. Thanks for listening. This has been From the Middle. I'm Kory Hubble.
Dillon Hubble.
Kendall.
Bye.